Mr. President, the project is ready for its first test.
Tell the scientists to go ahead with the first test.
I am Fridge, and welcome to uh, part 2 of World War III. This is episode 58, I think. Or is this 57? No, this is 58. So in the last episode, we saw World War III happen, and today we'll be continuing it. So at the end of the last episode, this country here started to invade into these two. Most of these two troops had been sent to other places, like Europe, and also over here to this country. So this alliance here decided to take advantage of that and start to invade. So this country started sending troops into this country here, and they will continue to send troops into this country as the troops continue to take this land here. However, it's not long before troops from the blue United States of South America countries show up and start to push back. They quickly take back this major city, and things are not going as the Amazon country here expected. So what do? Well, they do the obvious thing: invade their neighbor. So they send troops into this country here and push in and quickly send them across towards the blue country. They also took the capital of this country, and this country will fall. And once there, they can start sending troops into the blue country, so that's what they do. Also, I'm just realizing how similar these colors are. Let me fix this. Now, that is a bit close to the Amazon, just normal color, but I think it's fine. So they then started sending troops into the United States of South America from here. And they also sent some more from their border here, but this area was not as defended as most of their troops are over here. These troops over here have completely pushed back to the border of the Amazon, though. And, well, the Amazon, A, they don't have nukes. B, their capital is a lot closer to the border of the United States of South America than the United States of South America's capital is to them. And there's just a lot wrong with there's just a lot of problems that they have to face compared to this country here, so they are in a way worse position. But they will still fight, and fight they do, as they push in a bit further before getting stopped and pushed back over here. And they get pushed back pretty close to the border of this country here, and things are not going well for them. Down here, things are going even worse for their allies, as, well, yeah, this one is just dead, basically. In fact, it is dead. It's the United States of South America has completely pushed it back to the border of this country, which they don't have plans to send any troops into this country because, well, this country is still the strongest in the alliance, even though it's a pretty weak alliance. But that's enough speaking down here. Let's head up here, where, following the collapse of this country here, Florida now has more troops to send into into Louisiana. So Louisiana and some troops from the United States of South America will start to push into Florida. However, when the Florida troops arrive, they start pushing back. And they push them back to here. And if that wasn't bad enough, there's a country that wants some land, and that country is Mexico. So Mexico, they're going to declare war. Or not even declare war, they just start invading into this country here. And they push over towards this major city and capture it pretty quickly. And with this, a lot of troops are going to come over here to defend over here. And that's going to Florida pushing back and starting to push in. Along with that, there's a lot of attack on the capital. And they also make a landing down here, which pushes, and the capital will fall soon which this major city will fall. However, the people here will continue to fight. Over here, where we need to talk about Iberia. So the pink Iberian team knows that they're going to lose this if they don't do something. And they're going to do some stuff. First of all, they're going to try to find an ally to help them out. And luckily, there is a country who kind of wants some more land. And this country, they will promise this country some land if they join. So we will see the joining of this brown country here into the war. They'll promise land from these two countries. However, things are happening in this gray country here. There's an election happening. This country is a democratic socialist country. There's an election happening, and a lot of the people here don't want to be involved in this war. And they also don't really like Goiki because they want this land back. And one of the candidates says that they are going to pull the country out of the war if they win. And he ends up winning. And he does as he promises. And we soon see this country pull out of the war. Which is not good for Goiki, as they just lost their closest ally. Closest in, like, closest to them, not as in, like, close relations. Like, these two countries did not really like each other. But they just lost their ally. And along with that, they are now getting invaded by this brown country down here, who is sending troops into them from over here, and taking advantage of most of the troops being over here. With this, they're going to have to pull troops out to come down here, which is going to lead to a pushback over here by the pink country, pushing the Goiki troops almost completely out. However, up north, things are going well for these countries here, as they push further in, taking this major city, and taking some coastline here. So, the pink country is going to do some other things. Those things are something that actually started this war, that being nuking. So, they have 10 nukes, and they're going to use some on these countries here, starting with these two up here. They're going to drop a nuke right here on a military base, and also one on this major city here in this country. Another one down here, so that's 3 nukes used. However, they're also going to use some on Goiki over here. So they're going to drop, so they know that Goiki has 6 nukes, and they have figured out where they are. They have 2 in their capital, and they have 4 in a military base somewhere around here. So they're going to just drop like a bunch of nukes over here, and they're going to try to send one to the capital. However, it's once again Goiki will manage to stop it. However, the other nukes got destroyed, but they're going to use the last 2 now, and they're going to use one on this country down here, nuking this major city, and the other one on the pink country here, dropping it right there. This one was more so to stop them from invading over here. However, there's just Iberia is just turned into a massive, or this side is fine, but this half here has just turned into a massive wasteland. But anyways, Goiki no longer has nukes, and this country, they used 1, 2, 3. They used like 6, then the 7th one got stopped, and the nuke that fell here also destroyed the other 3, so both these countries are out of nukes, so we can remove that. However, these countries getting nukes is going to damage them a lot. Now, this country has also been damaged, but the people here are also incredibly nationalistic, and this country, the only thing that's stopping them from being fascist, the fascism, is, like in the Treaty of World War II, they couldn't go fascist, but the people fight back in these occupied areas. Along with that, troops start arriving, and these countries are kind of dealing with things, and they get completely pushed out. They were not expecting to get nuked, and they are being in like complete, like their economies and their governments are not functioning because of this. This country's invasion into Goiki is still going well, though, as they take this major city here. This advance happened before the nukes. Anyways, though, heading up here, I'm going to add in some naval battles, because there's one happening over here that is pretty important to talk about, so let me add that one in. So, there's a naval battle happening along here. It started out like this, like at the beginning of the war it was like this. However, it has been like pushed to this at this point, with this country's navy completely destroyed. Now, the Dutch has also gotten themselves involved in this naval battle. So they are around here, and they've pushed over into this area here. However, Wales is planning to make an invasion into Brittany, because they want more nukes, and Brittany has nukes. Why? Because they want to nuke Scotland, but they're worried if they nuke Scotland, then the North Union might nuke them, and, well, the North Union could use 110 nukes of them right now and completely just get rid of the British Isles with that, but having more nukes could deter them. Now, they are going to use one nuke on the Scottish for now. And this is kind of to see if the North Union will do anything. So they kind of drop one, not really on Scotland, but in the water nearby. This is kind of like a warning nuke to Scotland, saying, hey, you should get out of here. And when they do this, North Union does nothing. So what do? Well, they respond with another 2 nukes. And following these nukes, the militaries of both the North Union and Scotland suffered from these, and they start pushing back. And in fact, they get right outside this major city, which they're not going to go into because it just got nuked. There's radiation there. They push back over there. However, the North Union will try to respond with their own nukes. However, Wales was ready for this, and they have their air force ready to fire these down. So they fire down the nukes they're sent. However, one of them does still land, and it hits this major city here. But it could have been worse. The others, they sent 5. The other 4 got they didn't make it, and one of them does blow up in the middle of the water here. Looking at the alliance layer, if I can find it. The Dutch are kind of surrounded by a bunch of enemies, and, well, when the troops of these countries arrive, they start to push back against the Dutch. Especially in Germany, where the Dutch had sent the least amount of their troops because Germany was the weakest. Well, actually, maybe Egg would be the weakest as they are landlocked, but let's just say Germany's weaker. Let's say that Egg, despite being landlocked, they still have a decently strong military. After all, they used to be the second strongest country in the world, and they saw a push into the Dutch, getting outside this major city. Along with that, the North Union is right here, the strongest country in the world. So while they're mostly focused on Wales at the minute, they will quickly start a push in here and take this major city, in fact. And they start a push right towards the capital, the Dutch. Also, this color is a bit too close. Let me change that. That's a bit better. So they get right over. So they take this province here now, going towards the capital pretty quickly, which is not good for the Dutch. Now, they're also sending a lot of their troops over here, which is not going well. They also have troops in other places. Like they sent some troops down here to help out with these countries, which is good because with that, these countries can push further into this country here. However, this country does have allies, such as this country down here. However, this country is kind of busy with their own things, like destroying Turkey Macedonia here as they take this major city now and continue to push in. And they also push over towards this major city here and take it, and Turkey Macedonia is kind of dying right now. However, they also share a border with another country, and they have not forgotten about this country. In fact, they are ready to start pushing in now. So they start pushing into this grey country here, which is not good for the grey country because, well, getting pushed in is not good. And they take these two provinces here. They also push in along here to protect this major city that's in this province. And over here. And the grey country is starting to die, as they have to pull a lot of their troops out of Greece to come help out over here, which is going to lead to the other Greek countries having some more success, as we see this country here start to push back, or push into Greece, and take this land. We also see Turkey Macedonia continue their push into this land, taking this area here, and they also push against this country some more. In fact, they start heading into this country, and they take this major city here, which is not good. They just took Athens, actually, city name layer. See, they took Athens, Crete City, Istanbul. Anyways, though, this area over here is also falling. However, luckily for Greece, they will get an ally to help out over here. That ally will be this purple country here. And there's also another country that's going to join this war. That being this blue country here, which wants some land. So these countries both will join this war. The blue country, I think, has had a bad history with, I think they used to own some land over here, if I remember correctly. I could be completely wrong. But I think they used to own, like, some of these provinces. So they might want that back. If I'm wrong, then they just want land. But they take this major city, and they start pushing along here. As for this country here, they are most going to be sending their troops to Greece to help out there. As they, with their help, they start to push back over here. Pushing back to the border over here. And over here, they start their own push into the fascist Greek country. Getting to this major city and taking it, which is going to lead to a lot of this area here falling over to these troops. As they are pushed back over to this area here. However, Turkey Macedonia does push over here and start taking this, and also starts their own push into the fascists. Over here, they push them out because they kind of pulled back to deal with the yellow country. However, there is another country over here that has some problems with the yellow country, and that country is none other than, if I can find the layer that I'm looking for, there it is, and that country is none other than the brown country here. Now, what is this country really going to do? Nothing. They're weak, but I guess they can distract. Also, I just remembered these two share a border, and, well, there hadn't been much happening on this border, but the yellow country does start sending troops into the green country, the blue country here. Also, following Weimar joining, they are getting crushed, and, well, another country sees this as an opportunity to get land, that being this country over here. They had invaded Weimar before as well, and now Weimar's just dying. Well, they better hope that the Horde Alliance goes ahead and wins this war, because if not, then they're just gone. But anyways, we need to look at some other fronts, one of which being this one over here, where, with help from their ally, Persia, this blue country is going to push Balka out a lot. However, Balka has nukes, something that they are willing to use. So after a push towards this major city happens and it gets captured, that's what Balaka is going to do. They're going to drop some nukes. So they start by dropping a nuke over here on a military base here. They'll also drop one on a military base over here and one over here. And there's actually 5 nukes in this military base. However, well, they did just nuke someone who had more nukes than them, so yeah, they kind of get their own nukes dropped. However, luckily, they knew this was happening, and they had moved anything of importance, like nukes, out of these military bases. So, these countries really only nuked military bases of each other. They didn't nuke any major cities, at least not yet. However, the radiation kind of is going over here is kind of going to backfire on Persian troops, as well. They don't really want to go through these radiated areas, and they kind of just made a wall around themselves, with the only little area that they wouldn't go being over here. So Belka sees this, and they start placing all their troops over here, and they start to push back and take back this major city successfully. So I guess Persia's going to have to start sending their troops over here. Both ways, one of Raymond's greatest advantages is down here. However, luckily for Raymond, there's another incredibly nationalistic country that borders the Persian country. That being this pink country here. Now, this pink country, it has existed since episode 1. Now, they have at moments been off the map, but they have come back every time. However, they start pushing in, and they get this far, and they get pretty far due to the fact that a lot of the troops are busy fighting. However, Persia soon shows up and starts to push back. However, they don't manage to push the pink country completely out. The pink country manages to keep some troops in, which is surprising. Hanging over here, though, the blue country has a massive success over here and pushes the purple country completely out before starting an invasion into them over here. And they push up and take this major city here. Meanwhile, over here, Vietnam is getting close to the capital as they continue to push along over here. Now getting to the end of this province here. However, luckily for the blue country over here, they have taken this major city. Shut up. I will deal with you later. Anyways, though, that's the final here. There's a lot of fighting. It's slow, though, and incredibly, like, a lot of casualties are happening over here. Hang up here, though. Chinese cheese, you put yourself in a bad spot, because guess what? Korea does not care if their troops get radiated, so they're going to just send their troops right through this city here. And, or actually that's a military base they got nuked, but they send it through these radiated areas, not caring what happens. They also, time for another naval front over here. So the naval front over here is looking something like this, if I get something like this. Yeah. With these countries having their navies fighting against each other over here. And, well, let's just say that Korea's navy is kind of dominating right now, destroying a lot of the Chinese cheese navy. And in fact, they've even pushed them over to this peninsula, where they are starting to plan a land invasion. And a land invasion, they in fact do, making a landing in this major city, which used to be the capital of China, the original China, and they take it, and they start pushing towards the capital of Chinese cheese, and also this major city down here, which is not good for them. Up here, due to what's happening down there, the Mongolia country, I guess, has pushed Chinese cheese completely out, and started to push into land they used to own. over here with the two countries over here, well, let's just say the terrorist tactics are going successful as they continue to do multiple terrorist attacks on this country here and push further in. Along with that, this country is made up of a bunch of different countries that even before they unite, they won't stay with. The only thing that led to them uniting was this terrorist group over here. And, well, some of these areas kind of don't want it to be part of the blue country here. Some of them kind of join up with the terrorists. And we see a pocket open over here, and also one down here. Along with that, these two countries are also having their own problems with terrorists. In fact, this one just completely fell over to the terrorists. And this one also did. While this war was happening, terrorists rose up in this country and overthrew it and joined up with the terrorist group. And there's also some terrorists popping up over here in the south. Over here, this area here, they're not going to join up with the terrorists, however, they are going to declare independence. So we can show that. We see this area over here declare independence. Not the entire thing. This area over here, it goes ahead and declares independence. That is not good for this country here. This country is just dying right now. Heading over down here, there's another naval fight that's happening, and that one is between the Circle Alliance and Madagascar. And by the Circle Alliance, it's mostly just the Orange country, whose navy is actually, they're a lot closer. They're like this. We can make this a bit bigger. They're like this right now. No, I don't want to call that. And the Madagascar navy is like this, defending from the invaders. As well, things are not going well for them. As you can see, they've had 5 nukes. All of their nukes are gone from the nukes, and, well, the capital got nuked. In fact, the new capital is actually over here, as they view it as the least likely city to get nuked. Their Air Force is making sure no more nukes fall on this, but this country doesn't have plans for that. In fact, their plans are possibly nuke some ports along the coast over here to destroy the navy and hopefully invade this, but at the moment the navy is fighting well to defend Madagascar, so not much things happening over there. Another country is going to join this war. Another pretty weak country, but a country that will help out nonetheless. That being the green country. Now, the green country joining this war helps out a lot because, well, before they joined the war, a lot of yellow team and this country up here troops had already been stationed in it, and these troops, along with the green country's troops, are going to start an invasion into these two countries right here, the blue and purple countries. So we see, it's not going to be that big, we see troops start push in over here, and they quickly start taking these major cities. Now, these countries are stronger than the green country, however, these two countries here are stronger than these two, so yeah. The Nordic Union is going to pour some troops to come help out over here. Over here, not much has happened. However, heading up here to Wales again. Wales has pushed the Dutch out, and with the naval fight happening, their navy is dominating. In fact, people are starting to say that Wales has one of the best navies in the world, as they have destroyed a lot of the Dutch's navy now. And in fact, they've started to invade into the Dutch's land over here, with them focused on other places. So, say goodbye to the Dutch. But yeah, things not going well for them as Wales starts to push in, and along with that, they'll plan to invade. Brittany is starting to get planned, and they are going to make a landing at Normandy in what will be known as D-Day, but in this universe it's the fascists making a landing in Europe as they start pushing over here. In fact, there was like 3 nukes here which they then take back, so that's something in this major city here. And they started pushing, and this is not good for Brittany, but things get worse for Brittany as a country wants some land back. That being Green France, who starts to push in up along here, and with Brittany's entire military up here and also over here, speaking of which, the troops over here have pushed to the Dutch out, and they even started their own invasion to the Dutch before the Welsh made their landing. And, well, Brittany's time is starting to look less and less like it's happening. Down here, nationalism has led to the entire pink country, country is involved in this war in some way. A lot of them are even in the military, and that is going to lead to massive pushes into this country here, and this country over here, and these two countries, with these pushes happening to them, they're both going to make the smart decision to leave the war. So, what is the lines? Where there it is. So these two countries are going to leave the war. And over here, things not going well for Goiki, as over here they've been pushed out, and this country's continuing to push in. In fact, they've gone down to this major city here, which they will then push into and capture. And Goiki, basically everything except their capital is either nuke or taken, or they still have land here that isn't, but all the major cities are either nuked or been captured, other than their capital, which, I mean, if things weren't bad enough, the leader of the country down here, like I said, a lot of the people want this land back, and they've made a deal with the pink country that they will invade this southern land and take back what they want. So that goes ahead and happens with this area here falling over to these countries here. This country stopped their push after this major city got nuked, but that happens, and things not going well for Goiki. And if that was not good, an event has just happened to a country that was already losing this war, but things not going to go well. Things are going to go even worse with what has just happened. Inside of the Suez Canal, a rebellion backed by the fascist countries has broken out as a country that has not been seen since episode 30 declares its independence, that being Sinai, as all of this area quickly falls over to it. And the entirety of the last colony of a European power inside of Africa, and I think the world actually, other than some islands, has just declared independence, and the Dutch, the main economic factor and one of the most important parts of this war, the Suez Canal, they have just lost control over to these rebels. In fact, a lot of the troops stationed here joined up with these rebels. They were like, why are we fighting for a losing country when we could join this rebellion and win the war? So that's what they went ahead and did. In fact, one of their closest economic partners, Egypt, is in support of this because they, if you know, this area here used to be part of Sinai, or Sinai, or however it's pronounced. I honestly don't know. In this universe, I think that it's pronounced Sinai, but I don't know why I say. Anyways, though, Sinai declares independence, and that is where this episode is going to end. There are a few other major events that are going to happen in the next episode, which can either flip this war back in favor of one of the losing powers, or just, well, completely end this war for the winning powers. But for now, thank you for watching, and goodbye.
Mr. President, I'm sorry to inform you, but the test has failed.